Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. I know a lot of people are talking about Joe Biden's ultra-brief interview yesterday with various questions on recession, inflation, his son Hunter, Armageddon, Saudi OPEC, and other matters that he basically refused to answer. You just can't do those things in 15 minutes, but of course, President Biden doesn't want to do them in the first place. But there was another interview Monday that was much more revealing and important in my view, and that was J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon in London about the Biden administration's huge mistakes and their failure to produce more oil and gas. Mr. Dimon basically blasted Biden on energy. And I quote, "America should have been pumping more oil and gas. We should have gotten that right starting in March at the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine." Dimon said the Biden administration dropped the ball by not significantly boosting output. He said, and I'll quote, "Obviously, America needs to play a real leadership role. America is the swing producer, not Saudi Arabia." And then he capped off his Biden blast with this, quote, "I would put it in the critical category. This should be treated almost as a matter of war at this point. Nothing short of that." He compared the Russian invasion of Ukraine to the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor back in 1941 and the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1968. Quote, "It's Pearl Harbor, it's Czechoslovakia, and it's really an attack on the Western world." Well, folks, if you've already read these clips from Mr. Dimon's interview, good for you. But I think it's worth repeating. He's America's leading banker. He's one of the most famous businessmen in the entire world. The bank he runs is a superb enterprise, one that you may recall refused bailout money way back during the financial meltdown of 2008. Now, I have known Jamie for many years, always respected his views. I'm not really talking politics here. I'm just talking about the sage advice offered by our leading banker. In this period of corporate wokemanship, it's very refreshing to hear some plain-spoken common sense. I'm going to say that outside of the radical extremist global warming crowd, the vast majority of men and women who go to work every day in this country would agree with Jamie Dimon. Now, that doesn't mean the vast majority or Mr. Dimon is opposed to renewable fuels or deny that there's long-run climate issues that need to be tackled, for example, by technology or innovation. But to sit there and watch Vladimir Putin use the oil weapon in his megalomaniacal, ahistorical invasion of Ukraine, or watch the Saudis hold us over a barrel because Biden's turning off the fossil spigots here has allowed them to again become the world's swing producer, well, that's something that I think would anger sensible Americans. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's about common sense, which is what businessman banker Dimon is getting at. And that's why I think what he said is so important. Look, we know that Biden energy policy has bungled from the very beginning, whether it was canceling the Keystone Pipeline, ending permits, leases, pipelining in general, no LNG terminals, gasoline refinery, et cetera, literally turning off the spigots by probably 3 million barrels a day has not simply jacked up inflationary prices, but has damaged our economic and our national security. Further, for election-buying vote reasons, Biden has about 50% depleted our strategic petroleum reserve, which you may recall was instituted about 50 years ago to protect against another Arab oil embargo that jeopardized American security. Remember that? Biden's political price fixing to bring gasoline down by $1 or so is so transparently corrupt, with not a care in the world about our defense. Yes, of course, Jamie Dimon is right that at the very beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Biden should have changed policies and started producing more oil and gas. Of course, I would say Biden should never close the spigots down in the first place. Former President Trump left him with a strong America First dominant position, which Biden threw away because of his obsessions with the Green New Deal. Now, as far as Jamie Dimon's war footing, I don't think anybody should argue against that metaphor. He may be too humble to say it, but I'm going to call him an American patriot. I know him well. Yes, of course, Jamie was right that at the very beginning of the Russian invasion, Biden should have changed policies and started producing more oil and gas. Of course, I would say Biden's never closed down the spigots in the first place. But the Biden crowd doesn't like business people. They don't like bankers. They do like central planning, and they like price controls. So I would say we not only have a war footing regarding global energy security, we have a war footing domestically to stop the drift towards socialism. Which brings me to Jamie Dimon's last quote in this interview. Let me quote, "This is the chance to get our act together and to solidify the Western, free, democratic, capitalist, free people, free movements, freedom of speech, free religion for the next century." End quote. What do I say? I say, wow. Wow.